Hello everyone and welcome to my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime reading vlog. Are we number 13 now or are we still number 12? I've lost track. Once again, I am reading 4 titles off of the 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime reading poster that I received in January of 2020. And for the very, very dreary, rainy so far month of September, I am reading Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. At the present, I am a couple hundred pages into the book, and so far it is really jam-packed with a lot of Indian history, a lot of allegorical stuff, and plenty of magical realism. The book is really comparing itself to Scheherazade and the Night of 1,000 Tales story, and so far the main character has been talking about his family and growing up, and their giant noses being able to do stuff, and him being born right at the independence of India, and his superpowers. So far, it's very magical, a lot of complicated stuff to sift through, but I'm just taking it all in stride. I'm not trying to concentrate too hard. I'm just letting the story wash over me. So far, it's not my favorite book. Books like these that are just very long and encompassing and complicated just aren't for me, I think, but I do appreciate reading it and understanding all of the connections to India and its complicated colonizing relationship with England and all of that being put into sort of a magical realism story. And I like a lot of the commentary that the character who is writing the book is adding in, and him talking to his, I believe, wife. I like all of that stuff. So I will let you know my final thoughts when I am finished. So I finished Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie, and I will be giving the novel 2 stars. While I did enjoy a lot of the aspects while reading it, I just feel like magical realism and sort of characters being connected to history. It's not like a favorite method of storytelling for me. I did enjoy a few of the aspects. I like that since the main character had such a big nose, that scent was in a lot of descriptions. Scent is a really good way to sort of develop the setting, the time period, characters' feelings, and just the sort of culture ultimately of the novel. So I really liked all of the descriptions of scent. I liked the idea of the Midnight's Children and his arc of trying to collect all of them, and the eventual sad realization that the government was too scared of them, so they were all sterilized. That was really upsetting, but it's a very possible thing that could happen if, power is discovered within your people. And I did like a few of the magical realism ties to events. My particular favorite was when the Prime Minister refused to resign, and that resulted in the one character having a 12 or 13 day-long labor, which, is showing how the actions of the people at the top affect those in society below. The book, in the end, was good. It was good. I know a lot of people really love this book, and awesome. It just was not for me. But, I would not have heard of this author or this story if not for the poster. So once again, I've expanded my horizons that way. Now, I am not sure what I will be reading next month, so stay tuned for literally my next clip. Okay, it is October, and for this month, I am reading Portnoy's Complaint by Philip Roth. Now, I have never heard of this book prior to the poster, but it is a book, I believe, published in either the 80s or the 90s by Philip Roth, and it is essentially a story of some guy, I believe, ranting to his therapist, And the beginning of the book describes something called Portnoy's complaint, which is like how early childhood family issues can cause perverted sexual like things in adulthood. So far I have read about how the main character, Alex, is essentially blaming his parents for the way he's going to be acting in the future. This is a very, very short book. I'm only about 25 pages in, and he's already just discussing his early childhood. He's talking about an overbearing Jewish mother and a father who's not, like, catering to the proper standards of masculinity. Therefore, it's their fault he's going to be doing a bunch of weird and crazy stuff. He is already a deplorable character. He's been kind of racist, but that's part of his own childhood upbringing. And the way that the novel is written is very just quick-paced. It's obviously just a rant, I'm guessing, to a therapist, which is why it's written like this, but it is just so jumbled. It's just some deplorable character's stupid little thoughts and blaming his mother for his problems in life so far. It's reminding me a lot of, like, what Woody Allen does, and I don't like it. I don't like this kind of novel. It's just, I don't care about a man and blaming everything else for all of his problems, yada yada yada. He just does not seem like a great character, so I'm glad that this book is short because I'm going to get through it pretty quickly. So those are my initial thoughts. I'm only about, like I said, 20 pages into it, so I will let you know my final thoughts very, very soon. I feel like it's going to be the same unless there is a huge revelation in the novel that captivates me a bit more, but otherwise this is how I feel now. I am not impressed. I'm wondering why the hell this is even on the poster, because this doesn't even seem like possibly the author's best work. Maybe it's just his most popular. Stay tuned for my final thoughts very, very soon. So I have just finished Portnoy's Complaint by Philip Roth, and my final rating is going to be a 2-star. Now, in my last clip, I misquoted the year. It was actually published in 1969. I think my year was from the edition that I'm reading when it was published. So it was published in 1969, which gives a way better context for the sexual revolution and frank discussions of sexuality, making this book a bit more important because it was published during that time period. You know, the time when psychology for sexuality was starting to become more mainstream, the Kinsey scale, Freud, etc., as well as making the discussion of sexuality a lot more frank and almost humorous. I personally didn't find it very funny, but I'm sure for the time it killed. And of course, there is the punchline at the end of the book where you spend 209 pages reading about all of his complaints, about his life, about what he's done and who he blames and what's going on, his views on women, his views on his family, his views on being Jewish. And the punchline is that the therapist is German, and he says, well, let's get started now, shall we? Like, ha ha ha, he wasn't even like beginning his session yet. He was just ranting. Very, very funny. Not very, very funny for me. It is odd that this book is on the poster. It's just a very weird outlier compared to a lot of what is on the poster, which is like popular Dickensian Russian literature, just like sort of like what's considered the greatest, and I do not consider this book the greatest or like the most popular. I had never heard about it prior to the poster. So it was a really, really odd choice to put on there, and I didn't enjoy reading it. Now, as for what I'm going to be reading next, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to get 2 books in there that are going to be relatively quick, so I can finish the year off. So stay tuned for that. Hello, it is still October again, and I have decided to torture myself by reading On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Now, this book is pretty well known for being what is considered the ultimate American travel novel that is taking place in the mid 1900s. It is about the 40s to the 60s in this era, and it's just known for being a very inspirational work. It inspired a lot of other artists' works. I believe Bob Dylan was mentioned amongst others. The story is essentially autobiographical. It is about the character named Sal, who is traveling across America with a series of characters, including a guy named Dean Moriarty. I recently read somewhere that the characters from the show Supernatural were named after these two characters, except they changed it to Sam and Dean. If that's true... Anyway, I am about halfway through the novel, and what I've noticed about it is that it's very stream of conscious writing. Everything that I have read for this quarter writes like it's just stream of conscious writing. Like I read Midnight's Children, I've read Portnoy's Complaint, and now I'm reading On the Road. I swear in November I'm going to read a standard narrative. I promise. And once again, so far, I am not compelled by the story. I think I shot myself in the foot by reading 3 of these same type of stories in a row, so now I really don't really enjoy stream of conscious style writing. I think I like narrative and character work and a proper plot more than just people moseying around, drinking and going to bars and proving how much of a chauvinist pig they are. This novel, at least. But at least I've gotten to a point in the novel where all the group of friends and their wives are calling out Dean and Sal for just being pieces of shit, lazy pieces of shit with no drive in their life, even though Dean has a family that he's left. Good for them for calling them out. At least in a book like this, when they're being called out, it's not as annoying to read about because, hey, everyone else in the book agrees with you. So yeah, while I agree with a lot of the modern criticism that it's just kind of a gross, sort of entitled male stream of consciousness, I understand why it was popular for the time period because it inspired other artists' works. And at least the characters in the novel are calling out this behavior, and it's shown to be bad in the narrative. They're learning that they're pieces of shit with no drive. So good. It's not letting them get away with it because it's cool or something. At first it was written that way, but now they're going, oh, should I be growing up and, becoming somebody? So at least that's happening. That's like a mini, teeny tiny little arc in the novel so far. So we'll see my final thoughts very soon. I doubt I will have anything else to say. Once again, the pattern of 3 novels in a row where I just don't connect to it. It's too stream of conscious. There is just a lot of information that is sort of useless to be taking in, and I am not enjoying myself as a result. So in November, I'm going to find a book that has narrative structure and we'll finish this video off right. So stay tuned for my final thoughts, for the scratching of the poster, and then for my November read, which will be the last one for 2024. Stay tuned. Okay, here we are. It's November. Daylight savings has already occurred. It's dark out. It's 10:30 a.m. Let's do this. So for the month of November, I am reading The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster with illustrations by Jules Pfeiffer. Now, this book came out in the 60s, and it's about a little guy who gets a big gift in the mail, and it's a toll booth, which takes him to a bunch of really weird little cities, encountering a lot of weird concepts, fun characters, and a really big adventure. So far, I'm about 40 pages into it. It's not a very long story, and the main character, is it Milo? He has built the toll booth, and he's gotten into his little toy car, and he has driven to the city of Diction, something like that, where they are selling words in the marketplace and you can eat letters, and there is a dog who is a clock, and he's just been put in jail for the stupidest reasons. So far, my favorite part has been the police officer sentencing him because he's also the judge, and he's also he kept putting on the outfit. That was my favorite part. That was so funny to me. And so far, this is really, really adorable stuff. It talks about a lot of concepts, a lot of fun ideas for children, and it's getting them to think about words, think about making choices, think about reading, and just having a lot of fun with a lot of the concepts that they will be introduced to later in life. So far, the illustrations are very simple but very beautiful. I'm really liking this story so far. Of course, it's been compared to Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland and the Wizard of Oz novels, but I like this sort of idea of introducing children to concepts that are so far a little bit unfamiliar and alien to them, that being the adult world and all of its rules and having to do manners and having to make decisions and having to encounter people and concepts like the law that they're not really understanding fully, but nonetheless it's happening, and everyone else around them acting like this has always been the case. So introducing them to new concepts like that in this really fun, creative, and fantastical way is just such a great idea. So far, I'm really enjoying this book. So when I am finished, I will give you my final thoughts, but I feel like this is going to be a high rating already. So stay tuned for my final wrap-up. Hello again, everyone. I have finished The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster, and I will be giving that story 4 stars. I thought it was really cute and really sweet, and I liked the little adventure that Milo went on. I liked all of the superfluous characters being really silly concepts. Like, it took me just until now to realize that Talk, the dog who is a clock, is a watchdog, which is a very silly play on words. I liked the character of the witch, and I really liked the idea that Milo had to bring rhyme and reason back to the kingdoms, and I liked the ending where he no longer needed to travel to these fantasy lands because he was introduced to these concepts and he will now grow and change on his own. So it was a really, really sweet children's story, a wonderful way to introduce different adult concepts and understandings for how the world works, and I really, really liked the art in it as well. It had sort of a sketchy charm to it. Now, as for my final wrap-up for the year, I have officially read 80 books off of the 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster. So what does that mean for my goals next year? Well, I plan to finish the poster next year. That's my goal. Having it completed in 5 years. That's my goal. I mean, I already started off with reading 27 of them before I even started to read books off of the poster, so I think that goal can easily be reached within 5 years. Now, it's 12 books that I used to read in a year, but now I have to read 8 more on top of that, so maybe some months will have 2 books and some of them will just have 1 depending on the length, or I will do a big December reading vlog where I only read books off of the poster. So we'll see. That's all the way next year. I don't have to worry about that just yet, so stay tuned for those vlogs coming in the new year. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next year with more of these poster vlogs. Bye bye.